Okay, so you want to own a casino. You picture the floor at midnight, the lights, the chips clicking across green felt, 1,000 slot machines singing at once. Somewhere above it all, behind a one-way mirror, there's you, watching. Because every hand dealt down there, the house wins. Every spin, every roll, every card. The math is rigged permanently in your favor. You wouldn't be gambling. You'd be the only person in the building who can't lose. That is a dream. That's what the movies sell you. The tuxedo, the vault, the machine that prints money in the dark. Sounds simple enough? It is not. Because here's the uncomfortable fact. Casinos go bankrupt constantly. Brand new, billion-dollar, beautiful casinos run by people who understood gambling better than anyone alive. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what a casino actually is, where the money really comes from, and why the smartest operators in gambling still lose everything. Let's start with what you think you're buying. You think you're buying a gambling business, a room full of games with a built-in mathematical edge where the product is luck and the profit is guaranteed. Here's the thing nobody tells you. On the Las Vegas Strip, the most famous stretch of casino real estate on the planet, gambling brings in 26.1% of revenue. 26.1%. The hotel rooms alone bring in 34. Food and drinks add another 25 on top. The Strip stopped being a gambling business a long time ago. The slot machines are the bait, not the meal. And the owners know it. In 2019, MGM sold the Bellagio, the building, the land, the fountains, to an investment firm for $4.25 billion, and then leased it back. Their own flagship casino, they pay rent to stand inside it. Caesars ran versions of the same play. So did Penn. The biggest names in gambling looked at the most profitable casinos on earth and decided the smart move was to stop owning them and start renting them. Think about that for a second. If the gambling were the business, that move would be lunacy. It isn't lunacy, it's the answer key. A casino is not a gambling business. It's a real estate and credit machine wearing a gambling costume. And the costume is very, very expensive. So here's the question that actually matters. If you still want in, what does the door cost? The application fee in Nevada is $7,500. That's it. That's the number printed on the form. And it is the last small number you will ever see in this business. Because the fee doesn't buy you a license. It buys you an investigation. The state assigns agents to take your life apart. Every bank account, every business partner, every tax return, every wire you've ever sent, and you pay their hourly rate while they do it. Their travel, their hotels, their meals. The process runs 8 to 14 months if your history is clean. One applicant with complications overseas took 26. And the burden of proof is reversed. The state doesn't have to prove you're unsuitable. You have to prove you're suitable. Fail and the money is gone and you never even touch a card table. Now say you pass. Time to buy the building. In 2009, Phil Ruffin bought Treasure Island, an entire strip resort, for $775 million. In 2023, the Fontainebleau opened after roughly $3.7 billion of construction. And in 2015, a man named Glenn Straub bought Revel, a $2.4 billion casino in Atlantic City, for $82 million. 4 cents on the dollar. Same industry, same decade. One of those numbers should scare you more than the others. And it's the small one, because it means a casino can lose 96% of its value while every game inside it is still rigged in the owner's favor. Hold on to that thought. First, the bills. Start with the tax. Not on your profit, on your winnings. Every dollar the house wins, the state takes its cut before you've paid a single bill. In Nevada, that cut is 6.75%, the friendliest rate in the industry. In Macau, it's about 39%. In Pennsylvania, the tax on slot machine win is 54%. 54%. The identical casino, same machines, same customers, same floor plan, is comfortably profitable in Las Vegas and structurally dead in Pennsylvania. In this business, your zip code decides whether the math works before you've hired a single dealer. Then there's the federal government. Casinos move so much cash that the law treats you like a bank. Every transaction over $10,000 reported, suspicious patterns flagged, a full-time compliance department paid to watch your own best customers. Get it wrong and the numbers stop being abstract. In 2024, Wynn Las Vegas forfeited $130 million for letting money move through the building in ways it shouldn't have. The largest casino forfeiture in American history. The games were clean, the paperwork wasn't. Then come the people. A casino never closes, so every table needs roughly 4 dealers to keep it running around the clock. Plus the cage, the cameras, the kitchens, the valet, the housekeeping floors upon floors above. In Las Vegas, 60,000 of those workers belong to one union, and their latest contract raised pay 32% over 5 years, about $2 billion across the three biggest operators. That's not a crisis, that's Tuesday. And here's the trap almost nobody prices in: the free stuff, the comped suites, the free meals, the free play that keeps your best customers walking back through your doors instead of someone else's. On the Strip, complimentaries run about 39% of gaming revenue. You win $1 at the tables and hand 39 cents back as gifts, because if you don't, the casino across the street will. Marketing isn't a line item in this business, it's a mortgage. Read that again. The tax, the compliance, the labor, the comps, every one of them due whether the floor is packed or empty. So here's the question that actually matters. With all of that bleeding out the sides, where does the money actually come from? Layer 1 is the floor, and the floor is pure math. Every game keeps a slice of everything wagered. Blackjack around 0.5% against a perfect player, roulette a bit over 5, slots 7 to 8 cents of every dollar cycled through. Tiny percentages, enormous volume. The house doesn't beat players, it taxes them. Quietly, politely, thousands of times an hour. Layer 2 is everything wrapped around the floor, and remember, on the Strip, this is the bigger business. Rooms at $250 a night. Restaurants, shows, nightclubs, convention halls the size of airports. The gambling pulls people through the door. The resort empties the rest of the wallet on the walk to the tables. Layer 3 is the one nobody puts in the brochure: the float. A casino collects money instantly. Cash in, chips out, but pays everything else later. Payroll, later. Suppliers, later. Progressive jackpots accrue for months before anyone hits them. And some chips leave in pockets as souvenirs and never come back at all. An interest-free loan from your customers, permanently. Between the wager and the payout, you are running the entire operation on other people's money. Banks would kill for this arrangement. Actually, banks invented this arrangement, which is exactly why the government regulates you like one. Layer 4 is the database. Every rated player tracked: what they play, how long they stay, how much they lose, which free steak keeps them loyal. The loyalty program decides who gets the penthouse and who gets the buffet coupon. And it's arguably worth more than any single building, because a building can be copied and 40 years of behavioral data cannot. That's the machine. Rigged games, a resort wrapped around them, a float underneath, a database on top. Now let me show you the difference between owning it correctly and owning it fatally. Meet Phil Ruffin. December 2008. The exact bottom of the financial crisis. When nobody on earth wanted to buy anything, Ruffin agreed to buy Treasure Island from MGM for $775 million. Not with borrowed billions, $600 million in cash plus a $175 million note he paid off early, collecting a $20 million discount for his punctuality. Here's what he was actually buying. Treasure Island earned about $101 million that year, so he paid roughly 7 to 8 times earnings for an irreplaceable corner of the Strip. Land he estimated would cost $2.7 billion to rebuild from scratch. He owned the dirt outright. He owed almost nothing. So when the bad years came, and in this business they always come, there was no lender at the door and no rent check due to a landlord, because the landlord was him. That's the entire playbook, and it's boring on purpose. Buy from a desperate seller. Pay mostly cash. Own the land under your own building. Ruffin is worth around $4 billion today, and he never built anything spectacular in his life. He just made sure that whenever the music stopped, nobody could take his chair. Which brings us to the payoff I promised at the start. The smartest people in gambling. Losing everything. Meet Revel. Atlantic City, 2012. $2.4 billion of glass and steel. The tallest building in the city. The newest casino on the East Coast, designed to be the future of American gambling. The rooms were stunning. The floor was state of the art. The math on every single table was rigged in the house's favor. Every hand, every day it was open. It survived 2 years. Because Revel opened $2.4 billion in debt into a market that was dying underneath it. Atlantic City had spent decades as a monopoly, the only casino town on the East Coast. Then Pennsylvania legalized, Delaware legalized, New York legalized, and customers did the obvious thing. They stopped driving past the casino near their house to reach the one far away. Atlantic City's gambling revenue fell from $5.2 billion in 2006 to $2.7 billion in 2014. The pie was cut in half while Revel was still pouring concrete. The debt payments didn't care. Debt never cares. In 2014 alone, 4 Atlantic City casinos closed, 8,000 jobs, gone in 1 year, Revel went bankrupt twice and sold for the number I told you to hold on to, $82 million. $82 million for a $2.4 billion building. The house won every hand it ever dealt, and the owners still lost 96 cents of every dollar they put in. That's a trapdoor under the floor. The games are never the risk. The risk is the mountain of borrowed money the games have to feed inside a market that can shrink the moment a neighboring state changes one law. Revel didn't lose at gambling. Revel lost at real estate and debt, because that is what this business actually is. So let's run your casino. Honestly, a mid-sized regional property, 1,200 slots, 35 tables, $150 million a year in gaming revenue. In a good year, it works. You give back about $27 million in comps. You pay roughly $30 million in gaming tax, $37 million in labor, another $20 across marketing, compliance, insurance, and keeping the carpets from dying. That leaves around $36 million in operating earnings, a healthy 29% margin. Then the second layer arrives, $15 million in rent if you sold your real estate, $6 million in maintenance, $8 million in debt service. You clear about $7 million on $150 million of revenue. That's a good year. Now a competitor opens 40 miles away, or a recession clips consumer spending and revenue drops 20%. Your comps barely fall. You're fighting harder for the customers who remain. Labor barely falls. The tax rate never falls. Rent and debt don't fall by a single dollar. Same building, same rigged games, and you are now losing about $12 million a year. Think about that for a second. $19 million of swing between those 2 years, and you controlled none of it? The house edge held the entire time. The edge was never the business. So if you do decide to buy a casino, understand what you are actually buying. You are not buying the games. The games are a math formula anyone can license. You are buying a license the state can take back, a building the debt market can take back, in a market a neighboring legislature can erase with one vote. The people who win in this business, the ruffians, the landlords quietly collecting rent from the operators, figured that out early. Own the dirt, owe nothing, and let someone else wear the costume. If this changed how you look at the machine behind the money, subscribe. There's a whole series of these autopsies coming. Because in the end, you are not buying a casino. You are buying the land it stands on and the debt it stands under. The house doesn't always win. The landlord does.